Good afternoon. Hope everybody's good. Good big-time game coming up. Saturday, Pac-12 play, opening that up. Excited about that opportunity for our players, for our coaches, to go on out there up to Berkeley and play what I would expect to be a very hard-fought, physical football game against a very good team. Justin has done a great job over there throughout all the years, and we know they're going to have a fantastic defense. They're doing extremely well right now, moving the ball, it looks like, on offense, and I expect them to continue to play well and get better. So we'll have a great challenge ahead of us, and our players and our coaches are real excited about it.
For as much as you don't like talking about last year, is Cal maybe the exception because of the success from that game?
No, we don't talk about it at all. We don't reference it. We haven't. We don't spend time dealing with. The team was completely different. We're a different team. They're a different team, and it's not about what one game you win or one game you lose. It's about how can this football team get better every single day.
I know, I acknowledge what you just said, but for the program itself, what was the value in just ending that losing streak, getting that turn?
Well, I think what it did was it ended the losing streak, so you didn't have to talk about it anymore. There was no more discussion externally about how many games in a row you won or lost, and in that case, lost. So we don't talk about it. There is no streaks. It's just one game at a time.
So obviously, their quarterback is the older brother of one of your quarterbacks. How have you handled that whole thing? How has Will handled that whole thing this week?
I haven't really talked about it, addressed it, on Sunday. Obviously, let it be known that we recognize the fact that their quarterback is Will's brother. And other than that, I think they're both very mature kids from what I understand, and I don't envision that being an issue whatsoever. I think that's just one of those deals that it happens.
Is Will playing his brother on the scout team?
At times, he and Cole Tannenbaum are rotating. Who's playing the role of Jack Plummer.
There are no more divisions in the Pac-12 as of this year. What do you think about that?
I think it's certainly unique when you have just one table, right? A table of rankings. So you get to really see where you fit. Each game is important. There is no winning the South. There is no winning the North. It's just go out there and play each game and see how you do in that one game and then redo it again the next week. So, and that being the case, I guess it brings a little bit more attention to a South versus North, a former South versus North game, because now it's just a Pac-12 game that you just go out there and you go play and compete in.
What were your expectations for Hunter Echols going into the season?
We expected him to be a very good football player for us and be able to help us grow on the defensive line. We were hopeful, and he's achieved the leadership from the defensive line. He's done a great job of bringing an energy and a passion about him. That's what we expected him to do. We expected him to be a player that can disrupt the passer, and I think he's shown his ability to pass rush. And then we've done everything we can to continue to help his development along the way in all other facets of playing defensive end.
What do they do defensively that you think will give you the most trouble with maybe keeping you up the most at night this week?
Defensively, they're very, very sound. They've done it for a long time together. Coach Wilcox is a defensive coach. He's been a defensive coordinator at the very, very elite defenses. He's coordinated. They're a very sound, fundamental defense that plays very tough. They give you enough man coverage to make you aware, and they give you plenty of zone coverages that you have to recognize that they're going to look for the quarterback and look to see what zone holes they can or zone windows they can close fast.
Is there anything that jumped out to you when you looked at the Notre Dame game?
Just a very, very hard-fought game of two teams that look like both had opportunities to win the game, and both had chances in different times of the game to change the outcome. It just looks to me like they were a really good physical team that recognized Notre Dame was going to try to run the ball often, and which they did, and Cal did a very, very good job defending it, I thought.
What challenges do the Cal skill guys in Hunter, Sturdivant, and Ott bring you?
Well, on both sides, I think they have very good skill players. I think their receivers and running backs are very good, and I think their corners and safeties are very good. It's going to be a great challenge for our secondary to match the level of play of their secondary. It's going to be a great challenge for our receivers against their corners. It's going to be a great challenge for our DBs against their wideouts and tackling their running back. I think that they have very good players that can make plays out in space, and you have to be able to defend that. And then defensively, I think 32 does a fantastic job. And 2, I think both of them are very, very good safeties. And then 41 and 15, they've got corners that are experienced defense. There are a lot of juniors and seniors on that defense, and they know how to play.
One of the freshmen that you've trusted with important snaps is Jonah Coleman. What has he done to earn that trust?
Jonah's practiced really, really hard all throughout spring. I think all of us that watched spring football recognized his value on the practice field and how he developed as a football player. And then training camp, came back and it became a lot. I think as usual for a true freshman, where all of a sudden it's ball all the time and there's like that 2-week or 16-day window where it's just constant football meetings. And he had to just get himself acclimated to that. Once he got acclimated to that, he started getting better every week and started playing more and more in games. I think we had him, 15 carries or 12 carries the first week. And this past week, giving him the ball in the fourth quarter gave us a great opportunity because of how fresh he was.
If Speedy is unable to play on Saturday, do you envision adding another back to the mix, or do you think it'll just kind of be those top 3?
Yeah, I envision maybe Drake Anderson having a little bit of a role as well. But right now he's fully healthy, so gives us a chance to still have 4. Drake is fully healthy, so gives us a chance to have 4 good backs if Speedy can't go.
Jed, you're going into your second year in the Pac-12. Can you talk about the parity or maybe balance? 2-1 against Cal. You look at USC, Oregon State. They're both 3-0. It's hard to get through this conference unscathed.
Yeah, right now the Pac-12 is playing a good football, beating a lot of, I know Washington State goes and beats Wisconsin. Washington beats Michigan State. Utah, Florida was a heck of a battle down to the very, very, very end, last play of the game. There's, Oregon goes and beats BYU. There's a lot of good football going on right now in the Pac. I think that you see a lot of close games. You see a lot of big wins. And as I look at where we are in the Pac-12, I'm pretty proud to be in this conference and watch the way our guys and the teams are competing against conferences outside of ours, as well as this weekend will be a huge weekend of all Pac-12 games, I believe.
When you look at your defensive snaps, the frontline guys have played a lot so far, maybe even more than Johnny wanted to. And you look at your second team defense, and it's a lot of freshmen and redshirt freshmen. How do you kind of balance getting those guys in the game with trying to win the game, knowing they need experience at some point because they might be called?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, we're going to try to win the game. So that'll be the first avenue that we'll go through. The young guys, I believe, are growing and maturing and getting better. So there's more and more opportunities for them to get into the game as the weeks go on. We don't want to play the same 4 guys every snap. So we need to find a way to get those guys substituted in a little bit more. We're working through that right now. We need to make sure that we're all healthy up front, especially on the defensive line interior, with Tank and Paris, and we need Tia healthy and Keon. So then you've got, your younger guys really playing on the edges, backing up Eccles and backing up Jalen. And that's where we got to find some more substitutions.
Did you get the sense at all that the defensive guys were kind of feeling it a little bit more after the North Dakota State game than any other game, just because of the nature of how they play?
No, they didn't really. They didn't seem much different to me than they did the weeks before. Every week is different. You're going to run a lot more covering Mississippi State than you are going to run, playing against the North Dakota State. But you're going to take on more ISO blocks and more pullers when you play a North Dakota State than if you were to take on a Mississippi State. So each week is a little bit unique in that regard in terms of how they handle the physicality of the game. And but I did not feel a big difference between the way they handle themselves this week.
It seems at times that T-Mac has had difficulty blocking. What's that transition like for him, or really any freshman wide receiver?
Yeah, I think as a freshman, what you've been asked to do blocking wise in high school is very different than what you're asked to do blocking wise in college football. And the size of the player you're blocking in high school is much different than the size of the player you're blocking now. Additionally, usually the best players, like a T-Mac in high school, probably didn't block a lot. You know, most of the time they were probably down the field catching balls. So therefore, it's a learning curve in regards to being asked to downfield block, being asked to block at the point of attack, being asked to be a part of, let's call it, a get a play started. And he's continuing to build his confidence there. And blocking is a lot about angles. And in some regard, if you don't have a ton of experience in that regard, then you're going to take a bad angle. It's going to look like you've missed the block. But in turn, it's really you went high and they went low. You went low and they went high. You went to the left and they were going to the right. And, you know, a lot of times people, in my opinion, they go to where they are, not where they're going. And you forget that it's a moving target. And that's sometimes how you run into some blocking issues.
How would you assess the blocking of that group as a whole, the wideouts?
A work in progress. They're working really hard to become good blockers. They're working really hard to have great confidence in themselves that they can get, you know, they can make the touchdown block. The guys that make the touchdown blocks are the other wide receivers. The guys that get the play started are usually the O-line. So when you can get to being able to make that touchdown block and take great pride in it, that's when you know you're going to have a really, really good wide receiver core when it comes to the run game.
If you're a receiver, then what makes a good wide receiver block?
The two things. Number one, you need to want to be a great blocker. That's a big part of being a Cooper Kupp, being a Robert Woods, that mentality of just wanting to block. And then number two, finishing your block. You have to be able to make sure that you don't just block them to start the play, but you have to block them through the play, which means you got to have great leverage. You have to keep your feet moving, and you have to make sure you do a great job keeping your hands inside.
How's Jaden looked in practice this week, and how can you help him build on the success that he had last week?
Jaden's getting better, as is our team. As I've said to you guys, and we'll continue to say, we're just building and trying to make this practice better than yesterday's practice, this week better than last week's week. Jaden's building confidence in his teammates. I'm building confidence in Jaden. Jaden's building confidence in us. But for our program to take another step each week, we have to respect the process and trust the process. And that means that there's going to be some practices that might not be perfect. And that might mean that there's going to be corrections that have to be made. But assuming we can make those corrections, I see Jaden continuing to get better.
Are you guys planning on doing any recruiting while you guys are on the road?
I don't know if we're going to have someone at a high school on Friday night. I would believe so, though. I believe we are. I haven't seen that schedule just yet. But normally if we get on the road to a recruiting, let's call it a hotbed or a place where we spend a lot of our time, we'll make sure we have at least a couple coaches. Earlier games make it a little more challenging.
For a team that has, as you've said, a lot of young and a lot of new, what is the value of having played a true road game already as you start Pac-12 play on the road?
Oh, yeah, you know, we talked about the first game when we played San Diego State and how few people actually ever traveled with our team. And knowing our schedule and knowing our routine and knowing what it looks like and knowing how you dress and knowing what you wear in the hotel. Now we're past that. Now we should be in a pretty good routine when it comes to the logistics. And then hopefully we'll just see it as a football game rather than all the other parts that go into your first travel outfit.
Stanley Berryhill III signed with the Cardinals in the practice squad. We didn't get a chance to ask you that on Monday. Your comments, your thoughts?
Happy for Stanley. Always happy for Stanley's success. I saw him a week or two ago. We talked about some future opportunities for him. Future teams, and I was really excited to see that Arizona brought him in for a workout and then signed him. Stanley's a fantastic kid, as you guys know, did a great job for us last year, catching over 80 balls, and the fact that he's got an opportunity right here at home is awesome.
that help you remind the guys about the process? If you keep working, things will happen?
Sure. We talk about it all the time, that if you want to continue to do things right, good things will come your way. Thank you.